Hello, and welcome to episode number 42 of Wrestlerotica, the podcast that combines wrestling and erotica. This week we have 3 stories to share with you. The first story is entitled Judge, Jury, and Sexecutioner. Prior to one of the more recent ROH tapings, a fan recognizes Veda Scott outside the arena. The two instantly hit it off and go out for coffee, which leads them to having a hot encounter in the nearest alley. The second story is entitled The Blissful Bellas. In this story, the Bella twins are special guests at the latest NXT Takeover event, and while backstage, they can overhear a dramatic conversation. This conversation takes place between Alexa Bliss and Peyton Royce. In this conversation, Alexa reveals that her boyfriend has been cheating on her. She gets extremely upset and begins to cry. The Bellas then do their best to try and comfort her. Story number 3 is entitled Hunger. After an intense workout, Randy Orton is extremely hungry and decides to order pizza. While waiting on his pizza, he decides to hop in the shower. The pizza then arrives sooner than he expects, and by somebody more attractive than he expects. The delivery man is Batista, and Orton decides to give Batista a special tip, and then the pizza gets involved. Without further ado, let's get to this week's stories. This story is entitled Judge, Jury, and Sexecutioner. And it was written by Protacrastic. Veda Scott was a fine example of a unique individual with many talents. First and foremost, she was an accomplished indie wrestler. On top of that, she was also a well-known manager within the independent scene and also a professional lawyer. But most impressively, Veda Scott was a top-notch whore.
You already a whore. Why not make some money at it?
That would fuck anything that caught her eye. It was December 19th, 2015, the day of the Fallout TV tapings for ROH's Final Battle pay-per-view, which meant that today was also the day that Veda was scheduled to compete in a Woman of Honor match against Kimberly, Kelly Klein, and her slutty friend, Taylor Hendricks. Veda and Taylor had been known to get into some trouble together every once in a while. The most notable case was the backstage orgy that the two had arranged between them and 12 of the male competitors within ROH.
Alright, let's do this. How are you, what the fuckers, what the fuck buddies, what the fucksters, what the fucking ears?
However, today was different. Veda was focused and had no time to think about Taylor. It was about Veda and Veda only. Veda, who was currently strolling the streets around the 2300 arena, was wearing a revealing blue blouse, a blacklist bra, a gray coat, a tight black business skirt, fishnet stockings, and a pair of 6-inch blue high heels, but was without any panties. It seemed as if either nobody noticed her or nobody wanted to meet her, which I thought was a shock. So me being a big fan of Veda, instantly introduced myself when I ran into her. Me. Hey, you're Veda Scott. Veda. Oh, yeah? That's me. She blushed, either from the surprise of a fan actually wanting to meet her, or due to some secret attraction to me.
Brother.
We talked for a bit, and then I asked her if she wanted to grab some coffee. Me. I don't know what your schedule is like prior to the show tonight, but do you think you'd want to get coffee? Veda. Fuck yeah! Let's go now! We walked together to a nearby Starbucks, and as we strolled down the street, she sneakily grabbed my hand. as if she was trying to send me a signal. I didn't say anything to her until we sat down at our table. Me. So, if you don't mind me asking, what was that hand holding back there about? Veda. Oh, well, I mean, you're pretty cute. And I'm single. Me. Are you asking me out? Veda. Yeah, kinda. Me. Well, it's a definite yes from me. Veda. Wait, are you serious? Me. Yeah, of fucking course I am. I'm a huge fan of you. Plus, you're one of the hottest women in wrestling today. So why wouldn't I be? Veda. I don't know. I just don't have much luck with guys actually wanting to date. Look, do you want to get out of here? Me. Yeah, sure. Veda stood up, and as she did, I got a brief glimpse of her skirt, and saw that she had no panties on. This caused me to slightly harden, but only slightly. I followed her to a nearby alley that I knew all too well from the night before with Taylor Hendricks. Veda leaned up against the brick wall of one of the buildings along the alley and motioned for me to kiss her. I did so, and pinned her against the wall as I passionately tongued her mouth. As our tongues collided and our saliva swapped between our mouths, I began to remove Veda's coat and then dropped it to the ground. I could tell that she got rather cold due to the goosebumps that covered her arms as soon as I did so. Although she didn't seem to mind. She pushed me back and then ripped apart her see-through blue blouse, leaving her in only her bra, skirt, and heels. I took my shirt off and then undid my jeans. Pulling out my cock into the cold air, instantly got it fully erect. Veda then unfastened the straps of her bra, letting it fall off of her enormous breast, revealing her rock-hard nipples.
If you smell what the Rock is cooking!
I instantly leaned back in and began to suck on her right nipple as I played with her left tit. She moaned,
Ooh.
but tried to keep it quiet as to not attract much attention to us, seeing as it was the middle of the day. After a bit of boob play, I moved downward and placed several kisses on her stomach until I reached her pelvic area. I then pulled her skirt down to reveal her unshaven pussy. Me. Lovely. Veda. I'd hope you'd say that. She stepped out of her skirt, leaving her completely barren besides her fishnets and shoes. I grabbed her beautifully thick thighs that were covered by her hooker-like stockings and moved my face between them and began to kiss her dripping, wet twat. She grabbed the back of my head and forced me into her pussy. So I just went for it and started to go to town on her. I licked her moistened folds, causing her to let out many moans as she shook from the pleasure.
Ooh.
Veda. Ah. Oh. She began to come in my mouth, and that was my signal to insert 2 fingers into her. As I began to quicken my tongue movements, I started to also finger her tight asshole, causing her to let out a scream.
Ah.
Veda. Fuck! I've never done that before. Veda fully climaxed on my face and leaned back against the wall in relaxation. I stood up and dropped my pants. Me. Your turn, baby! Veda fell to her knees and began to deep throat my cock, forcing herself to gag. The entire time, she looked me dead in the eyes through her sexy glasses. I could see the tears forming within her eyes. With each passing moment, she forced herself to swallow my dick. I pushed her off of me and told her to bend over a couple of crates. She happily did so, and I positioned myself behind her juicy and fat ass. Me. Do you want to try anal? Veda. Yes, please!
Yes! 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 Yes!
I slid my erect penis into her tight asshole as she fingered her hairy vagina and screamed loudly. As if she now wanted people to come see her being fucked publicly. Veda, fuck me! Harder, baby! Harder! I did as she wished and thrust. Harder and faster. I used all of my pent-up aggression and fucked her brains out. I slapped her pale ass, leaving bruises behind. The only noises that were audible were Veda's heavy screams and the sound of her ass hitting my body. It sounded like the most wonderful time of my life, and we were both enjoying it too much to care what anyone that saw thought about us. Veda, ah, babe! I'm about to come! Me, hold it in for a little bit longer, Veda! Veda, ah! Oh, fuck! Veda squirted all over the concrete below us and climaxed. I continued pumping into her anus for about 2 minutes and then pulled out. She dropped to her knees again, this time tearing up her fishnets, and began to stroke my cock. The speed she used with her hands was incredible. She tugged on my cock with the force of a freight train on cocaine. Veda, give it to me, baby! I need your cum! Now! Me, fuck! Veda! Here it comes! I exploded with cum, covering Veda all over. She was even paler than before, now with semen on her face, glasses, hair, and tits. She began to lap it up with her hands and tongue, until she was squeaky clean, and swallowed all of the cum. She stood up, revealing large holes that had been created on her stockings, due to the rocky surface of the concrete. Veda, shit! Now I actually look like a cheap hooker. Me, no you don't. Don't worry. Just do your best tonight, and nobody will notice. Veda started to put her clothes back on when she realized that she had ripped apart her blouse. She only had her heels, stockings, skirt, bra, and coat. Veda, oh, come the fuck on. I guess I'm going to the arena dressed like this. Veda put her coat over her bra, but sadly it didn't have buttons and wouldn't cover her up even closely as much as she hoped it would. Veda, please walk me to the arena so I don't feel too ashamed, babe. Me, hey, whatever you need, I got you. Veda, thank you. Thank you so much. We walked back to the arena, and luckily not many people saw what she was wearing. When we arrived, we headed straight for her locker room so she could get the cum out of her hair and get a new shirt. Veda, so I guess we'll meet up after the show then. Me, yeah, just give me your number so I can find out where you are. I gave her my phone and she put in her phone number. Veda, thanks for today. I needed it. Maybe after the show, you want round 2? This time with a special friend. Taylor Hendricks appeared behind her, smirking like she did to me at Final Battle the night before. I stood there and just gave them a thumbs up as I began to feel lightheaded due to the excitement. The end. This story is entitled The Blissful Bellas, and it is written by Protacrastic. Nikki and Brie Bella were strolling through the halls backstage of the Full Sail Arena when they overheard a blissful voice talking in a nearby locker room. They peeked through a crack in the door and saw the small but feisty Alexa Bliss speaking with fellow NXT diva Peyton Royce. Alexa, I can't believe Murphy would cheat on me with that skank Liv Morgan. What does she have that I don't? A stupid sounding Jersey accent that makes her sound like a cheap whore that I could pick up on any street corner around here. Peyton, calm down. You don't need him, and he clearly doesn't need you. Although, I might need to pay him a visit and give him a taste of what girls from down under have to offer. Alexa, hey bitch, go fuck yourself and get out of this locker room, or else you'll be having a Merry Christmas in your hospital bed this year. Peyton grabs her belongings and sprints out of the locker room, past the Bellas, without second-guessing herself. Alexa sat down and cried into her arms on a bench within the locker room. Bree, should we do something? I feel bad for this poor girl. Nikki, I don't know. It seems like she wants to be alone. Think about it. What would you do if you found out Daniel was sleeping around behind your back? Bree, I'd be pissed for sure, but I'm sure we would figure it out. Bree and Nikki continued to debate outside the room as Alexa raised her head out of her arms and listened closely to what was going on in the hallway. Bree, maybe we should buy her a gift or take her out to dinner. Nikki, yeah! Let's meet her back here after the show tonight and offer to take her out for some drinks. She could use it. Nikki and Bree walked away towards their seats for the NXT Takeover as they were special guests for the evening. Alexa cheered up slightly since she had never met the Bella twins, but always looked up to them as the perfect role models for a main roster run. She wiped the tears off her face and changed into her ring gear as she prepared for her match against Bayley. Once she was dressed, she walked out of the locker room and strutted down the hallway with her sense of pride restored. After her match was over, Alexa walked back to the locker room. She opened the door and was surprised to see the lights off. When she flicked the lights, her jaw dropped. Sitting on the benches in front of her were Nikki and Brie Bella, wearing nothing but their high heels. Alexa was blushing, but didn't know why. She had always been attracted to guys, but had never felt this way in her life. Alexa, what are you two doing in here? Better yet, what are you doing here? Naked. Nikki, well, my sister here is quite the vixen, and thought it'd be a good idea to surprise you, since your asshole boyfriend cheated on you with some cheap bimbo. Bree, oh, and if you're going to ask about dinner and drinks, don't worry, we're taking you out after this. Although, I'm not sure you'll be hungry after you're done eating our pussies. Alexa stood there and didn't know what to do. She was frozen, as if she turned into a statue. Bree, hello? Alexa, are you still with us? Suddenly, Alexa snapped out of it and knew what she had to do. She pulled her tights off and undid her brassiere, leaving her standing in only her wrestling boots. She dropped onto all fours immediately and crawled towards Nikki, who was sitting on the bench to Alexa's right, with her legs spread wide into the air. Nikki, that's right, pet. Crawl to mama and eat this pussy. Like a good girl. Bree stood up and grabbed a strap-on out of her purse, attached it to her waist, and walked over behind Alexa, who is beginning to play with her sister's vagina. Ew! Bree was looking directly at Alexa's unsuspecting, perky little ass, and eyed up her asshole as she prepared to enter the tight space. Alexa, fuck! I've never done anal, but thanks for asking permission first, you bitch. Nikki slapped Bliss across the face, as hard as she could for talking shit to Bree. Nikki, who the fuck do you think you are? We're the Bella twins, and we've run the main roster Diva division. If you'd ever like to make it to the big leagues, then I suggest you do what you're told, and fuck us like the queens we are. Alexa, sorry, I just have a bit of built-up aggression that I've repressed for too long. Bree, good! Use it to your advantage to get what you want, like we are doing to you right now. Alexa, wait, what? Did you say you're Nikki pushed Alexa's head into her nether regions as Bree began to pump into Alexa's ass. Alexa had no other choice than to go along with it and submit herself to the Bella's wishes. She began to lick Nikki's pussy lips, which caused Nikki to moan loudly. Nikki, fuck girl, you know what you're doing. Don't stop. Keep going. Alexa used her hands to spread Nikki's folds back so she could plunge her tongue deeper into her twat. She then took her left hand and began to finger herself, which caused her to get her fingers covered in pussy juices. She raised her hand to Bree's mouth, and Bree gladly slurped every last drop off, leaving only her saliva on Bree's hand. Bree, I don't think I've ever tasted pussy juices better than that. And that's saying a lot, since I've tasted almost every diva on the main roster, including Nikki. Alexa pushed her head away from Nikki's cunt for a brief moment. Alexa, thanks! I pride myself on my sexuality and my abilities to steal the show from others. Alexa then screamed out in pain and enjoyment as she climaxed onto the floor beneath her. Alexa, holy hell! I'm about to climax, Bree! Nikki felt jealous that Bree and Alexa were having the majority of fun, so she flipped herself around and put her ass, which is her best feature, in front of Alexis's beautiful face. Nikki, I'm sure you've never eaten ass before, but tonight, that changes. You are our slut, and you're going to do everything we say. Alexa, gladly! Alexa smashed her face between the thicker Bella twins' ass cheeks and began to dine on Nikki's gaping asshole. Nikki, holy shit. Bree, you need to learn to eat booty like Bliss. This girl's a master of sex in almost every way. Bree, maybe tomorrow you and me can have a private session, and I'll show you how a real master fucks. Alexa, or you can give me a strap on and we can both fuck Nikki into a coma. Bree pulled out of Alexis's newly gaped asshole and pulled Alexa to her feet. She walked over to her bag and pulled out a 10-inch strap-on and handed it to Bliss. Bree, I normally use this to compensate for Daniel, but I'm sure Nikki could use it right now. Alexa strapped it around her waist. Nikki stood up and kicked off her heels. Nikki, I'm waiting. Please fuck me like the whore I am, girls. Bree lay down onto the cold floor, and Nikki lowered her pussy down onto Bree's strap-on and squealed slightly. Nikki, Bree, you always know exactly what size I love. Alexa then stood over Bree and grabbed Nikki's head and pushed it down onto her 10-inch strap-on. Nikki fit about 8 of the 10 inches down and began to gag. Just as her face began to turn blue, Alexa let go of the back of her head. Nikki caught the saliva that dripped out of her mouth and off the dildo, and rubbed it all over her face, causing her makeup to run slightly and leaving a glistening shine to her face. Alexa, I know you were in control a few minutes ago, but now it's my turn, bitch. Alexa slapped Nikki with all her might and left a large red handprint on Nikki's right cheek. Nikki, ow! Bree, don't stop bucking me. You're doing a wonderful job. Bree, I always do. Alexa, shut up, Nikki, and keep sucking. Nikki plunged her mouth back down onto Alexis's fake cock as she continued to bounce away on Bree's strap-on. As she rode and released her juices onto Bree's pelvis, she could feel her double D's bouncing up and down, faster and faster, as Bree picked up the pace. Nikki was making beautiful, gagging sounds as her beautiful face was being destroyed by the tiny Alexa Bliss. Nikki, shit! I'm gonna fucking explode! Nikki climaxed on Bree's dildo and pushed herself off of Bree and laid on the floor in pure joy and pleasure as she felt her body up and rubbed her remaining cum onto her tits. Alexa, Bree, since you just gave your sister and me both 2 beautifully wild rides, would you care if I gave you one? Bree pushed Alexa onto one of the benches and removed her own strap-on. She then sat her tight vagina onto Alexis's dildo and began to ride. Alexa thought it would be good if she really used her aggression like Bree told her earlier. She grabbed Brie's arms and held them behind her back as she pumped into Brie much harder and faster than Brie had expected. Brie. Alexa, I don't know if I can handle this. Fuck. Never mind. Do not stop. No matter what. I need to come. Right now. Alexa continued fucking Brie with more force than she'd ever used in her entire life. Brie. I'm coming! Brie unloaded her juices and fell off of the 10-inch beast that Alexa had been using all night and landed next to her sister, who was still shaking from her orgasm. Alexa stood up, took off her strap-on, and changed into a tight red dress. Alexa. Wow! Tonight was great. We should do this again sometime, bitches. Brie and Nikki. Anytime. We'll see you tomorrow for lunch. Alexa. I take it that means no dinner tonight? Nikki. I don't think I can stand up. Nevertheless, walk.
Oh yeah!
Brie. I think once me and my sister finally recover, we might go for another round between ourselves. Although, you're welcome to stay and join us if you'd like. Alexa blushed and let out a slight giggle. She smiled at Brie. Alexa. Thanks for the offer, but I don't think my ass can take another pounding till tomorrow. I'll leave you my number though. Maybe we can sext when you two are out on the road. Nikki. Why wouldn't you be on the road with us? Alexa. Gee. I don't know, idiot. Probably because I'm still in NXT. Brie. I don't think you realize how much power we have in corporate. Nikki. Pack your bag, slut, cause you're moving up to the main roster with us. You're going to be our new traveling fuck buddy. Alexa. Are you serious? Nikki put her heels back on and stood up to put her low-cut dress back on. Nikki. Of course. One little blowjob backstage, and you'll be traveling with us instantly. And if you want a Divas title run, all you have to do is a little gangbang with the creative team. I do it all the time. And look where it got me. I'm now the longest reigning Divas champion. Alexa. I don't know what to say. Thank you. This is all I've ever wanted. And more. Nikki. As long as you stick with us and do what we say, you'll go far, Bliss. Alexa grabbed Nikki around the waist and passionately kissed her. She let go and walked towards the door. Right before she walked out, though, she turned around and blew Nikki a kiss. Alexa. See you tomorrow, girls. Sorry, Brie, if I hurt you too much. Brie. It's fine. I love the rough stuff. Nikki. See you tomorrow. Try not to whore it up around Orlando without us. Alexa smirked and flipped off Nikki as she walked out and closed the door. Brie. Tomorrow is going to be a great day. Brie began to stand up, but Nikki pushed her back onto the bench and got on her knees. Nikki. Of course it is. But now I get to taste you, sister. Alexa strutted down the hallway as she heard orgasmic moans from the locker room and walked out of the building waiting anxiously for lunch the next day. The end. This story is entitled Hunger, and it was written by Frey. Round 1. Would you like some? Delivery. Randy leaned his head back and sighed as he felt the comfort of the scalding hot water pummeling at his chest. He always took a good hot shower after his strenuous workout sessions. The heat also soothed his aching muscles, which was a double pleasure for him. He had called Big Caesar's for pizza about 10 minutes ago. He always felt a ravenous hunger after a fervent workout. He takes rather brisk showers, so he was sure he'd have enough time to dress before the delivery guy showed up. A strong, sculpted-looking man reached forward towards the doorbell of Mr. Orton's residence. He rang only once, for the owner got there quite hastily. Hunger, Batista presumed. The door opened so quickly that Batista didn't have time to brace himself for what he was about to see. He couldn't help but let his eyes linger. Randy stood in the doorway in nothing but a towel, his still damp hair plastered to his head. There were still droplets of water glistening down his mouth. Tan, muscular torso. Little did Randy realize he was giving the delivery guy his infamous pouty-lipped look. He clutched the top fold of his towel where it is being held together, as if knowing that it may soon come off. A grunt from the other man brought Batista back to reality. Out of his lust-filled fantasy of... Never mind. Batista shook his head as if to clear his mind of the thought. Your pizza, Mr. Orton. $23.95, he said in a soft, yet deep voice, suppressing a blush from creeping across his face. Randy smirked as Batista handed him his all-dressed pizza with extra meat, making sure to brush his hand against the other man's. Come in for a sec, Batista. I gotta get your tip. And since when did you deliver pizza? Randy made sure to make his hips sway seductively as he walked into the house, knowing Batista was watching as he went to his room to get his wallet, leaving Batista waiting in the doorway. Batista couldn't help but watch Randy's fine ass as he disappeared into his house to get the other man's tip. Batista suddenly started to feel aroused. The feel of being in that hot bitch's house just seemed to get him off. He shifted his weight while waiting for Randy to return, also noticing he brought the box of pizza to his room. Was he going to eat it there? Batista thought. That's peculiar.
No! No!
Hey, Batista, can you come here? I can't quite find my wallet, Randy said, rummaging through his nightstand, nearly knocking over his fine Venetian glass lamp. Randy heard the built Latino man's footsteps approach, Randy anticipating every step. The box of pizza lay undisturbed on his bed until he slid a hand towards it, but stopped in mid-motion as Batista appeared in his bedroom doorway. Well, Randy, where's my tip? Batista said with a smirk, cocking his head to the side haughtily as he leaned against the doorframe. Randy sat on the side of his bed parallel to Batista. He sat with his legs close together, but slowly opened them tauntingly, giving Batista a good view of his package. Batista didn't think that Randy would own such short towels, but everyone just seemed full of surprises these days. Randy beckoned the other man with a head motion. I'll give you your tip. Batista growled under his breath, feeling his arousal press against the cloth of his confining jeans as he approached the full-lipped, godlike piece of ass sitting on what seemed to be a four-poster bed. Batista stood in front of Randy, hands on hips and head cocked to the side, with a smug look on his face. Randy slowly reclined while eyeing the sizable bulge in Batista's denim jeans, which happened to be at his eye level. Batista knew what his tip would be as soon as he started walking to Randy's bedroom. Mr. Obvious. Randy lifted Batista's big Caesar shirt uniform, revealing a good portion of his naturally tan, chiseled abdominals. Randy slowly leaned into the other man's waist, letting his teeth graze the smooth skin of Batista's stomach. He then licked a generous line up it and nipped at the warm flesh. The taller man moaned as he felt Randy's tongue slide up his abdomen. He gripped his head and guided it lower, giving Randy a good idea of what he wanted, and what Randy would eventually do anyway. Batista leaned his head back as he felt Randy unzip his jeans, which felt terribly confining to him at the moment. Randy looked up at Batista, raising eyebrow. There was nothing between the Latino man's pants and the surrounding air. No underwear? Randy smiled smugly. I like that. Batista lay writhing on Randy's bed, thrashing his head from side to side while being pumped by Randy's strong hand. The other man feverishly worked Batista's erection, as it were a popsicle that had to be coaxed with the hands as well. Randy sucked the tip, then slowly pulled back abruptly, making a wet suction noise. He then slowly continued to stroke Batista, getting a few groans out of the animal. Are you gonna come for me, bitch?
Bitch!
Randy asked, his adrenaline-induced eyes wide, panting. Wanking Batista was too tiring, considering there was so much of him to jerk. Batista growled through gritted teeth. Fuck yeah! He let out a bestial noise as he came in a hot jet, spattering Randy's face in the process. Randy let Batista's hot cum slide down his face until it reached his lips. Then he licked the corner of his mouth, tasting the bigger man's juices. Randy sat up and exaggerately wiped his mouth, then cocked his head to the side, smirking as he does after winning a match. I hope your tip was satisfactory, he said, as more of a statement, rather than a question. Batista slowly sat up, his head still swimming with the remnants of climactic ecstasy. He licked his lips, eyeing Randy. Then the box of uneaten pizza. He had an utterly devious idea. Randy will get his extra meat, he thought to himself, reaching for the pizza box. Round 2. Sauce. Batista bit his lip while reaching for the pizza box, which was still warm. Randy put a knee on the side of his bed to support himself, while leaning over to see what Batista had in mind. Oh yeah! The pizza! Said Randy in a daze. Batista slowly turned his head to the younger man, with a wicked smile curled upon his lips. Randy let himself flop onto the bed, making the springs deep within the mattress creak slightly. You still hungry, Randy? Batista asked, licking his lips. Randy shifted his position to face Batista while propped up on one arm. Yeah, I guess, Randy said, unsure of what Batista might be thinking, but anticipating it all the same. Batista flung the pizza box in Randy's direction, which startled the other man. As it landed on the mattress in front of him, Randy eyed the box quickly, then turned his eyes to Batista, who was crawling over to him, slowly, on his bed. Randy smiled mindlessly and proceeded to open the pizza box. The tantalizing aroma of the pizza hit his nose and made his mouth water. Randy was pretty hungry, but what did Batista have in mind with the pizza? He was sure it involved eating it, or something. Batista bit his lip to stifle a growl. Watching Randy open that pizza box made some pretty raunchy thoughts run through his head. Batista knelt down next to where Randy was and slowly reached for a slice of that savory, all-dressed pizza with extra meat. Randy watched Batista's every move with wide eyes, hungrily anticipating what the other man would do next. Batista crawled closer to Randy, holding the slice of pizza above the younger man's mouth, as if it were a cluster of grapes. Ironic, seeing as how this was how the Greeks enjoyed eating their fruit, lounging in such a manner. Batista lowered the pizza down to Randy's trembling lips, his hot breath caressing the slice. Batista looked down at an unsure Randy and licked his lips lustfully. Go on, take a bite. Randy slowly opened his lips, looking up at Batista like a weary child. Batista gave him an urging look and stroked the slice down the Legend Killer's lower lip before he furtively snapped upwards and took a bite. Batista smiled down at Randy as he wiped the remnants of grease off the corner of his mouth. Good, said Batista, as he brought the same slice of pizza up to his own mouth and took a hefty bite. All this teasing with the food was getting Randy hard again. He hated how much it turned him on when he was led on like this. He slowly sat up to grab the slice of pizza from the bigger man, but instead was rewarded with the rough push back onto his bed. Hey, whined Randy playfully. He was hungry too. Batista lifted a knee over Randy's waist and placed himself on the younger man, straddling him. Batista nonchalantly tossed the half-eaten slice back into the box and reached for another one. Randy ground his teeth in frustration. He was hungry and horny, and Batista was being the biggest tease. Other than John Cena.
The champ is here!
But that's another story. Batista smiled almost lovingly at the slice he just took and slid his finger across it, coating it in greasy sauce. Still straddling the younger man, he started to grind on him. Randy reached for Batista's legs to push him lower down on his body so he could straddle other parts of him that needed tending to. The older man then trailed his finger, slick with sauce, down Randy's lips to his chin. Randy opened his mouth to lick it away, but Batista shook his head in disapproval, then leaned down and licked it off in one clean swipe of his tongue. Randy shuddered beneath his touch, his erection now becoming unbearable. The Legend Killer wasn't the only one to feel that hardness, or to be hard for that matter, so Batista slid his way down Randy's body, along with the pizza slice. The older man smeared a generous amount of sauce and stray toppings on Randy's torso, trailing it all the way down to his groin. Batista then languorously licked that off as well, starting slowly from the hips up. He loved teasing Randy Orton, and he knew the younger man secretly enjoyed it, so why not? Randy's breathing became labored as he restrained himself from lashing out under Batista's touches. He sloppily reached for the pizza box so he could let his tongue work something as Batista busied his on him. Oh, this has got to be the ultimate gluttony, thought Randy as he shakily brought the slice of pizza to his lips. Food and sex at the same time? Randy nearly screamed as the older man ran his tongue over his tight ring, then nearly plunged his tongue into him. Batista was very skilled when it came to rim jobs. Oh, how we wonder why. Randy, now laying on his stomach, clutched the pillow that lay near the headboard of the bed tightly, digging his nails into it. The feel of Dave's tongue, teasing and coaxing his entrance, was turning him into a quivering mess. Something he only thought possible could happen after rough sex. But alas, Batista was that good.
I am not a bastard. I am the best wrestler in the world.
Randy groaned loudly and reached down to his ass, groping at himself as if to spread it further. Ah, Batista! The younger man breathed huskily. Fuck me! He half growled as he arched his back in mindless ecstasy, while squeezing his eyes shut in an attempt to control himself. Sure, baby! Anything you want, replied Batista. Turn over. Randy obeyed, craving what was next to come. Batista looked down at a vulnerable Randy Orton, legs trembling, face contorted, in a look of raw passion. That was a sight to see, considering Randy was always smug and overzealous. Batista positioned himself to take Randy in somewhat of a missionary position, spreading the younger man's legs up and pushing them as far back towards his shoulders as they could go. Batista slid 2 fingers into his mouth to moisten them, just so he didn't have to take Randy dry. The younger man inhaled sharply as Batista slid 2 fingers into him. Dave grinned slightly, while watching Randy's face as he fingered him. Oh, Christ! Randy moaned as Batista teased him with his fingers, probing, coaxing. Batista then wondered if he should use some lube. His saliva didn't seem to do the trick, and he sure as hell didn't want to tear his lovely companion. Aww. Hey, Randy! Got any lube? The older man asked in a husky voice. Randy gave Batista a look an adult would give a naive child. Yes, he said, while reaching under his mattress to retrieve it. Strawberry flavor? Batista raised an eyebrow at it before coating his member with it. And even Randy's tight entrance. I like strawberries. Randy responded as Batista slid himself in.
Safe!
Randy was on the verge of tears. Batista's thrust just seemed to get more powerful by the next. He loved getting fucked by him. He could always count on satisfaction. Randy loves it rough. Yeah! Yeah! Groaned Batista, feeling Randy's tight inner walls contract around his throbbing member. Dave looked down at Randy and couldn't help but smile a little. That boy was just so damn cute while getting fucked. Randy's moans brought Batista back to reality. And the fact that he was slamming himself down onto Batista hungrily. Oh, Batista! Randy thrashed his head side to side and clutched his bedsheets as he was being brought to the verge of climax. Batista could feel himself about to come, but he kept on thrusting into Randy. He wanted as much of that ass as he could get. Oh, fuck! Randy cried as he came, splattering his stomach and Batista's chest. His eyes were watering. The sensations were too much for him, but he loved them nonetheless. Batista gave Randy one final hard slam before he came inside of him, filling up the younger man with his seed. Batista released Randy's legs, which he'd been holding, up, and slumped back onto the bed in an awkward sitting position. Randy lay back panting. A coating of sweat glistened on his firm abs as they rose and fell with each deep breath he took. Dave soon joined Randy at his side, laying there facing the other man, breathing heavily. He was satiated. The pizza and sex had done the trick. Randy turned to face Batista, while reaching out to pull the older man's face closer to his. I hope you enjoyed your tip, Randy breathed huskily, before giving Dave a deep kiss. Dave moaned into Randy's mouth and slid his hand up to the younger man's firm thigh, filling its toned definition. Randy pulled away, breathless, noticing that Batista's pager was vibrating down on the floor near his scattered clothes. Batista took a hint and reached for it. It's work, he said, facing Randy with a lopsided grin. What do you suggest I do? He asked the younger man suggestively. Oh, I don't know, Randy said mockingly, reaching for the pager. He then pressed it onto Batista's crotch, making the older man squirm. Randy then chuckled and tossed it aside, then proceeded to straddle Batista in a teasing manner. You know, I'm not paying for that pizza, Randy said coquettishly, looking down at Batista from atop the other man's hips. Batista rolled his eyes. I had a feeling you wouldn't be, but I think I made you work it off. Randy grinned and nodded, then childishly looked down and licked Batista's cheek. Pizza boy. The end. Thank you for listening to episode number 42 of Wrestlerotica. We hope that you enjoyed this week's stories. If you enjoyed this week's stories, please be sure to like and review us on iTunes. Also, visit us elsewhere online, including Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter, and as always, our official website, WrestleRoticaPod.com. Thank you and have a good week.